Welcome to the 5 pillars of ecstatic birth training. Hi, Janelle. Yay. Thank you. Good to know that you're there and you can hear me. Yes. Thank you, Patty. Perfect. All right. Well, I'm so happy that you're here today. I'm so honored to have you here. This training is so important. It is so near and dear to my heart. And for all of you that are birth workers, it's near and dear to your heart too. Like, we love our clients, right? We want to empower our clients to have the best birth experiences possible. And we know what's possible in birth. That's why we're doing this work, because we hold it as that sacred rite of passage. We know what an important moment this is, what a sacred moment this is, and how much potential this moment has for joy, for pleasure, from empowerment. Childbirth is a rite of passage. And if you're doing this work, I know you know that. And I also know that it can be really tough. It can be heartbreaking to see outcomes that are not in line with that vision. It feels like the gap is so far sometimes from what we would like to create and empower our clients to create in birth to how it actually plays out. And so I put together this training to really share some of the pillars of my ecstatic birth work with you so you can take that out to your clients. And I will also be sharing with you a bit about the ecstatic birth practitioner training and give you some information for those of you that decide you want more and you're all in for this movement to be able to join me in your own time. Hi, Julia from Edinburgh, birth educator in training. Woohoo! Janelle from Alberta, Canada. Welcome, welcome. One of the things that is so amazing about this movement is that it is a global movement. I have women that I work with from all around the planet. And the other thing is, this is very leading edge work. So I want to acknowledge those of you that are here because it's not for everyone, right? The reality that we see in the world around us, the story that's always being told about birth in the world around us, the story that's been perpetuated for thousands of years at this point, is that women are supposed to suffer in birth. And so this is really a revolutionary idea that not only do we not have to suffer, but that we can enjoy childbirth and that we can empower our clients to enjoy childbirth as well. So I had some fun with this webinar creation. There are a lot of, I'm going to make this as interactive as I possibly can to keep you engaged and all in. And I'm going to throw out some polls. So I would just love to know, what is your biggest challenge supporting women in childbirth? So I can really speak to that as I move forward. So I'm going to put this poll out there, and feel free to let me know. And if it's something other than one of the ones I've listed, do go ahead and put that in the chat box, because that's really helpful information. And I'm going to be touching on all of these things throughout this training. How can we transform these challenges into, alchemize them into situations where they are sources of potential empowerment and pleasure for our clients. All right, medical protocols and institutions. That is a big one. I see that for sure. All right. So, again, I am so thrilled and honored to have you here. I am so thrilled and honored to feel your desire to elevate the experience of birth for our mamas, for our babies, the future of this planet. And by your presence here, I know you're all in for that. This training is meant for birth workers, whether you're doula, midwife, childbirth educator, you're just getting started with your birth work, or you're very seasoned with your birth work. This information, I don't see it being taught anywhere else. So, I have a lot of women that I work with that have been supporting clients in birth for decades. And I have women that I work with that are just at the beginning of that journey, who have a sense that birth work is where they want to go, and are still navigating how they want to express that in the world. So all of you are welcome. And really, truly, anybody that supports moms at any point, from pregnancy to birth, postpartum, and motherhood, is welcome here. Really, what this is about is, if you want to help your clients experience birth as the natural an ecstatic rite of passage it was meant to be, this is for you. If you have a desire to use tools to elevate birth experiences, to learn new tools of pleasure, to transform pain to pleasure in birth and help your mamas feel empowered, this training is for you. And if you are committed to revolutionizing birth from fear and victimization to a sacred and empowering and liberating portal for your mamas, this is for you. This work is my passion. It's my soul's purpose. And I'm all in to co-create a world in which women experience birth as empowering, transformative, and pleasurable. But here's the thing, right? This is not what we are witnessing most of the time. It's far from the cultural norm, and our cultural legacy comes from that story of Adam and Eve in the Bible, in the Garden of Eden. In that story, it doesn't matter what religion you do or don't believe in, but that's the perpetuating cultural myth of our time. So in that story, Eve takes a bite of that apple, and as punishment, humankind is banished, and women are told that they will suffer in childbirth. That's a pretty harsh cultural legacy. So the big question is, I personally think it's time to move on from that legacy. And I had an amazing interview recently with someone who said, you know what, I read the Bible myself, I translated it myself, and it does not say suffering. And so whatever it says, this idea that the moment that a new baby is born, a child is coming into the world, is the moment in which we're going to punish the women that are going to raise them? That doesn't work for me. I think it's time to move on. So how do we reconcile this cultural myth and this reality that we see perpetuated with what we know in our bodies, in our bones, that childbirth is this empowering, transformative, and pleasurable rite of passage for women? How do we hold that vision when so much of what we witness is pain and trauma and disempowerment and victimization? It can be heartbreaking. And when you keep pouring your efforts in that direction and you keep seeing the other side perpetuated, over time that can feel quite draining, and it can really wear on your body and soul. That gap can feel really, really wide. So today, I'm hoping by sharing some of these 5 pillars, you will start to see that gap close in a little bit, and you're going to start to see some ways in which you right now can move forward and continue to hold that vision and give your clients even more of your love and support in a way that nourishes you and empowers them, right? Nourishes you in a way so you're not being drained, and also empowers them. All right, so let's take a look at your challenges. All right, 25% of you say that pain and trauma management. 25% say disconnect from body and sexuality, women's disconnect, and 50% say medical protocols and institutions. Yeah, I really feel that. I really hear that. Patty says, I really want to help women embrace their pregnant bodies and dive into the possibility of ecstatic birth. Thank you, Patty. Thank you so much. This is really why we're here. This is why we're here today. All right. So now, okay. So in this training, I'm going to show you how to consciously integrate pleasure into birth prep and support, and have that lead to better experiences in labor and delivery for your clients, as well as better birth outcomes. I'm going to show you how your connection with your body can support and nourish you while you support your clients in childbirth. And I'm going to show you how to process unexpected outcomes in a way that still leaves room for empowerment, pleasure, and ecstasy. Sound good, I hope? I'm also going to share with you an opportunity to work with me on an ongoing basis. I'm going to give you an inside look to the Ecstatic Birth Practitioner training, which is really the training that is dedicated to all of these things. But before we begin, I would love to just take some time to connect to our bodies, because the key to transforming our experiences, our clients' experiences, elevating birth, all of that lies within our bodies and our connection to our bodies. So I want to begin right there, up front and center. I want to invite those of you that are watching, if you're in a space where you can close your eyes, to go ahead and do that. And if you can recline, whether you're in a chair or if you can lie down, I want to invite you to do that as well. All right. So closing your eyes and taking some nice, long, slow, deep breaths. You can exhale with a sigh, a moan. I want you to feel as you inhale your body moving up, 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 your breath moving up, up, up through your body. So imagine your breath beginning at your toes and moving up through your body, through your torso, up to your head, your crown and above, and then exhaling. Feeling yourself start to release everything that you've carried with you here to this moment. Allowing your body just to surrender even more deeply. Allowing yourself to connect to the sensations within your body. I want you to feel what's going on inside your body. Just notice without any judgment. Notice what sensations are alive for you. Notice if you feel any areas of constriction, tightness, and send your breath to those areas, encouraging them, inviting them to release even more deeply. Notice if you have any sensations of pain. Notice any sensations of pleasure. Notice if they can exist at the same time, in the same body. Notice any sensations of heat, of coolness. Just notice any sensations of nothingness, any blank areas in your body. Again, no judgment. I just want you to notice how your body's feeling right now by noticing the sensations within. In your mind's eye, I want you to take yourself to somewhere really special and beautiful. It could be a place that you know. It could be a place in nature. It could be a place in your imagination. I just want you to imagine that you are somewhere on this earth that is so beautiful and sacred to you. And I want you to feel your feet, your bare feet on the planet, on the surface of the planet. You're part of planet Earth that is so special to you. I want you to imagine your feet connecting with the earth and the energetic roots from the bottom of your feet reaching down deep into the earth, spiraling down to the core of the earth, connecting you to that golden, hot center. Just feeling your deep connection to the planet, your deep connection to the earth through these energetic roots in your feet. Now, as you breathe with every inhale, I want you to start to pull up that golden aliveness, that golden heat from the center of the earth. I want you to imagine it with every inhale, moving slowly up those energetic roots and coming to you, to your body. I want you to start to open your body, your entire being, to be receptive to that golden, sparkling light emerging up from the planet to reach you. Feeling that golden light, that warm golden light enter your feet, enter your ankles, your shins, your calves, your knees, backs of your knees. Feeling that golden, sparkling light moving up your thighs, your front of your thighs, the back of your thighs, your hips, outer thighs, your inner thighs. I want you to feel that golden light entering your vulva, your feminine center, feeling it enter your vaginal canal, infusing you with that warm golden light, feeling it at your cervix, at your womb. I want you to take a couple of nice big inhales here. Allowing that golden light to enter your womb space, fill your womb space. Feeling it fill you, expanding now out into your belly, to your backside, your buttocks, your sacrum, your lower back and spine, feeling this entire area full of that golden buzzing light. Feeling, continue to move up through your torso, up your middle back, up your spine, filling your shoulders. Now feeling the front part of your body, feeling it in your solar plexus, that warm, golden, buzzing light in your solar plexus, entering up into your heart space, taking a nice, long, slow, deep breath there, allowing it to fully enter and penetrate your heart. And now expanding it into your breasts, feeling it entering and filling your breasts, that warm, golden, buzzing light. Expanding into your entire chest now. Your entire chest area is full of that warm, golden light that is traveling up your body from the center of the earth. Feeling it in your collarbones, in your shoulders, feeling it stream down your arms, that warm, golden, buzzing light, filling your upper arms, your elbows, your forearms, your hands, your fingertips, just noticing that sensation of warmth, that golden light dripping down your arms. Bringing your attention back up into your neck and your throat chakra, allowing that golden, warm, buzzing light, that glorious love from the core of planet Earth, fill your throat, expand your voice with its warmth, with its love, with its vibration as it slowly moves up your neck into your head, feeling the inside of your head, the front of your face, the nape of your neck, the lower part of your head, the back of your head, the crown of your head, filling your entire head now full of that warm golden light as it moves up your body, up and out your crown chakra and meets the heavens from there. So feeling how deeply connected you are to the core of the planet Earth, and now feeling that light connecting you to the heavens above. Just expanding your awareness for a moment, noticing how your body feels right now. Again, noticing the sensations within. Noticing what's alive for you. Connecting to that divine inspiration up above and feeling yourself held now by Mother Earth below you and the Father above you, feeling yourself held by the Divine Mother and the Divine Father, feeling that container, allowing you to relax even more deeply in your body. Now I want you to expand your mind's eye to include the entire Earth and notice all the other women in this training standing on their spots in the planet Earth, all the other women that have taken this training before, that will take this training after, standing on their spots in the planet Earth. And I want you to see all those lights all across the planet. Imagine yourself reaching out, the light of your arms reaching out, reaching the light coming out of another woman's arms as we collectively expand this light field on the planet. I want you to feel yourself deeply connected to all these women doing this sacred work all around the planet. All these women deeply connected to the earth, deeply held by the Mother and the Father. All these women holding a vision of childbirth as a sacred rite of passage, as an empowering and joyful experience. I want you to feel that in your body. I want you to feel your connection to this bright light that is now surrounding the planet, elevating the experience of birth on the planet through our collective visions, elevating the experience of the generations to come through our connection, through our desire, through the love that we hold in our hearts, through our passion, through our purpose as we stand together to elevate the experience of birth on this planet. I want you to really breathe that in. Allow yourself to receive what that feels like in your body. Allow yourself to notice what that feels like in your body. And slowly, as you're ready, you can rub your fingertips together. I want you to put your hands somewhere in your body and just give yourself a few strokes of some loving touch as you bring yourself back to the here and now, the present. Running your hands on your arms, put your hands on your heart. You can run them over your face. And slowly, as you're ready, you can begin to crack open your eyes. Okay. That brought tears to my eyes. I don't know about you. All right, so now we're going to move on to the 5 pillars of ecstatic birth. This is the foundation, the basis of my soul's work. I really encourage you to bring all of yourself to this call. I'm going to encourage interaction. I'm going to ask you to type in comments. Any questions that you have at any point along the way, please do put them in the chat box, and I will address them as I can. I have put in the handout section, let me activate this for you. I have put in the handout section a copy of this presentation. So you can download it, you can print it, you can take notes on it. That's available there for you. But I also encourage you while you're doing this to take notes and make note of any of your ahas and gems. That's the best way that you will keep them after this. So over the next hour, I'm going to walk you through these 5 pillars, and my promise to you in this time is that I'm going to give you as much content as I can, and I will also help you navigate some of the sticky spots in the birthing process for you and for your clients. And I'll also let you know how you can take the next step in this body of work before the end of the call. I want you to walk away with some actionable wisdom to integrate into your birth work, whether or not you decide to continue with me in the Ecstatic Birth Practitioner training. So I really encourage you to turn off your cell phones, rid any distractions from your space, and let's get ready to go. So my first question to you all is, are you all willing to hold the space for childbirth as this empowering and pleasurable rite of passage that it's meant to be? I hope just by your presence here, your answer to that is yes. I'm going to start a PowerPoint that we're going to follow along with here. And here we go. Birthing with pleasure, the 5 pillars of ecstatic birth. Childbirth can be one of the most empowering, transformative, and potentially pleasurable events in a woman's life. I want to tell you a little bit about me and how I came to do this work and why you should even be listening to me, right? So first thing you need to know is everything that I teach, I have embodied myself in my own journey. I am the mother of 3 children. My first birth was incredibly traumatic. My second birth was a reclamation. My third birth was the ecstatic experience that left me kind of pulsating and wondering, why didn't I know? Why didn't I know that childbirth could be this good? And why doesn't every woman know? That was the place from which I came forward. But what you need to know is in that journey, I had so many peaks and valleys. In order to recover from that first birth, it sent me on a healing journey. I had to really relearn my relationship with my own body. And what I discovered, I had a series of losses, and what I discovered was that I had been operating from a headspace my whole life. And I had no sense of my body having this wisdom. And so that was an integral piece in my journey to be able to have that second birth, which was such a reclamation, such an incredible experience for me. And it really showed me of what is possible when you're in alignment with your body and your body's processes. And I had this moment when I was going to push where I felt this expansion and contraction. I was, oh my God, it is possible. It's true. Some women can orgasm during birth. And as soon as I had that thought, it went away, but it really stuck with me. And at the time I was training at a school known as Mama Gina's School of Womanly Arts, which is a school for pleasure in New York City. And I noticed that the language of preparing for natural birth and the language of pleasure was one and the same, meaning the language of sensual expansion, which is learning to feel more pleasure in your body, learning to expand that pleasure, learning to have orgasms, learning to have multiple orgasms, learning to just be in this endless flow of orgasm. The language and the tools were exactly the same as the language of natural childbirth. And so I'm going to talk more about that later, but that was how I prepared for my third birth, was by really integrating those tools into my birth preparation. And the experience I had, of course, because it was birth, was totally different. I had this experience like I thought I was preparing for this sensual, orgasmic birth. The experience that I had was completely different. What ended up happening is I had a very pokey labor. And so we put on some music and I started dancing. And that dance felt like a dance between me and the universe. And I felt those contractions would come and overtake my body, and then just like retreat and leave me pulsing on the floor. And it really, the experience took me higher than I've ever been before in my whole life. And it left me saying, I don't understand. Why didn't I know? Why don't all women know? And thus I began informally my career as an ecstatic birth advocate, a writer, and a speaker. And then more formally as I created this business and brought it out into the world through a series of live events that are now known in the digital form as the Ecstatic Birth Training Sessions. I gathered all my teachers and said, you know what? I need you to share what I learned from you with all the birthing women across the planet. Like, I need this to be in a forum where everyone can access it. And that's what I created in the Ecstatic Birth Training Sessions. And what I found was all of these birth practitioners were coming to my sessions, midwives, doulas, birth workers, childbirth educators. And so that confused me a little bit. I don't understand. You all are birth professionals. Don't you know this already? And I was told, no, we don't know this. And thus the Ecstatic Birth Practitioner training was born. And I'd like to share with you a little bit about, what are my credentials for teaching this work, given that I'm not a midwife, I'm not a childbirth educator, I'm not a doula. Well, I am a childbirth educator in my own way. So let me reclaim that right here in front of you. My website is ecstatic-birth.com. And I am a Yale and Columbia trained cultural sociologist, which means that I look at cultural trends and the underlying causes and how to transform them. So that is my training. And I have had the privilege of being immersed, like I mentioned, in the world of pleasure, in the world of childbirth with some of these beautiful leaders that I'm sharing with you here. Dr. Christiane Northrup, Regina Thomasschauer of Mama Gina's School of Womanly Arts, Deborah Pascali-Bonaro is a dear, dear friend and colleague of mine. So I've been training in the world of childbirth, pleasure, female sensuality. I'm a graduate of the Tantric School of Arts, Saida Desilets School of Sensuality. I love the body, and I have trained my body to be able to feel pleasure and have seen the incredible, ever deepening, ever widening ramifications of that. And I've had the pleasure of working with these glorious women to really integrate that into the birthing process. And so thus the Ecstatic Birth Practitioner training was born. This will be my 5th year running that training. So I'm going to give you a little peek into that in a little bit. But first, each of you has a powerful opportunity to raise consciousness and empower an expectant mom through this transformative rite of passage in ways that could dramatically alter her experience of birth. You can empower each woman you work with to enjoy the journey of labor and delivery rather than simply endure it. So I do see in my poll that you all are 100% all in for this. I'm very excited and honored. The 5 pillars that I'd like to share with you today are these: how to disconnect ecstasy, the experience of ecstasy, from outcome, birth as a sexual act, pleasure as the most holistic birthing tool that's available for you, this idea that we are rebirthing with each birth, and how to hold the tone for ecstatic birth in your clients. So I'm going to walk you through each of these. And I also want to share that as I was preparing this presentation, I was like, oh, Sheila, there's not 5 pillars, there's actually 6. So I will be sharing with you a bonus pillar as well at the end of this training. And that pillar is probably the most important one of all. So I really encourage you, if you are able, to stay till the end of this training, because I don't know how I missed that from the get-go, but I think it's really important for you all to receive it. Okay. So here's the big question. Is it even possible to promise an ecstatic birth outcome to our clients? All right. Our first pillar is, how do we disconnect ecstasy from outcome? So is it possible to promise this ecstatic birth experience to our clients? The problem with, we all know as birth workers that there's no way to guarantee a birth outcome, right? Birth, like life, it is what it is, and it will flow how it wants to flow. And we have some control over that in terms of how we prepare and how we receive what comes up. But for the most part, like, birth is full of surprises, as is life. And so we can't really guarantee to our clients a certain outcome, but we can guarantee to our clients an ecstatic experience regardless of outcome. So this is the very first pillar of working with ecstatic birth with your clients is, no, you're not going to guarantee an outcome. But this idea of ecstatic birth, first and foremost, it's an ideal, right? So the last thing we want to do as birth practitioners is create like another standard that women have to strive to achieve to, and then they feel less than if they don't achieve to it. So whatever conception your clients have or you have of like, what is this ideal vision of birth? What is this ideal vision of what's possible in birth? Use that as an ideal, and ideals are meant to inspire us, right? They're not meant to be something that we use as a checklist. Like if you think about your ideal life, right? The ideal future. These are all visions that we use to inspire us on our path. And we understand intuitively that there are going to be twists and turns and things don't always turn out how we vision them to be, but we can use those images to inspire us. So that's the very first thing that I really want to share with you all, to use it as an ideal. Now, that said, you can still experience ecstasy in birth if your birth experience did not go as you planned and did not turn out as you wanted. And even if you got an unwanted outcome. How? Well, if I was to say to all of you, when was the last time that you experienced ecstasy? I would get as many different answers as there are women watching this training. However, if I was to say to you, what did it feel like the last time you experienced ecstasy? Then we would start to get some commonalities. So it's really important to tap into this idea that ecstasy is actually not an outcome. It's a feeling, and it's not tied to certain circumstances. You can have ecstasy in the bedroom, and you can have ecstasy among a mob of people, in a very opposite experience. It's a feeling. So how do we tap into that feeling in birth, regardless of what's going on around us? We empower our clients to make choices that are right for them rather than the right choices. And the right choices are in quotes, because there's no such thing as a right choice, right? What's right for one woman may not be right for another woman. Each woman is unique. Each woman has her own unique fears and has had her own experiences in life. And, I am not about, oh, everyone needs to have a home birth, or everyone needs to have a water birth, or everyone needs to, no. Everyone needs to have the birth that's right for them. And so how do we know what that is? That's by tapping into our feeling space to start to discern what feels right as opposed to what makes the most sense. That's not to say that we're not going to educate our clients. Of course we are. We're going to give them information, statistics, help them understand, there's so much in the politics of birth, and there's pros and cons to different birthing locations. So we will give them that information, but ultimately we want to empower them to choose what feels right for them. So for some women, that may be a home birth. And for some women, home birth might trigger, even though it seems like the right, in air quotes, answer statistically, home birth might trigger fear in them that actually it's not the right location because they don't feel safe given their, upbringing and conditioning. So really tapping into that feeling space is key. We cannot control birth outcomes, but we can elevate the experience of childbirth for our clients and ourselves. And the key there is to activate and lean on our feeling sense rather than our thinking sense. This is Sharon Arazi. She's in the current round of the Ecstatic Birth training sessions. And here she's speaking a little bit about that. She says, I now possess the knowledge and skills to further elevate the experience of birth for my clients while maintaining my bliss and pleasure throughout the peaks and valleys of childbirth. As a woman, I feel an even greater sense of love, passion, admiration, appreciation, and respect for myself and my body, as well as those of other women. The Ecstatic Birth Practitioner training was one of the best investments I've ever made, both personally and professionally. But how do we turn the focus of birth preparation and support from pain management to joy, pleasure, and even ecstasy? Second pillar, birth is a sexual act. And I want to know how that makes you feel, that statement, birth is a sexual act. I'm putting out a poll. I'm curious. You know, it took me years to be able to say that statement out loud. It took me years to be able to say out loud, birth is a sexual act. And then it took me another few years to be able to say that without kind of like going all gnarly and cringy inside. Why? Why? Because, you know, in our culture, everything baby related is pure and clean and relegated to one corner, and sexuality, not so much. It's trickier and, you know, can be in the shadows a little bit and maybe not so clean. We keep babies and sex separate in our culture. Now, if we take a moment to think about it, well, they're not separate. How do we make the baby? Birth is not separate and distinct from the sexual act. It is actually the culmination of it. So this is such an integral piece to, you know, supporting clients in ecstatic birth, to holding space for that, is to really learn about these interconnections and to raise consciousness, to educate your clients in that as well. So I want to know, like, how does that statement make you feel? Is it like, do you love it? Does it make you squirmy and uncomfortable? Do you understand it, but you need to get more comfortable with it? Or do you just feel like it's just plain wrong? You can go ahead and click that on the poll there. You know, once you, in the Ecstatic Birth Practitioner training, we go through the birthing anatomy and the sexual anatomy. We talk about the hormones that are one and the same. We talk about how to honor the body and its processes. And here's the simple thing. The simple statement is that, like sex, most women can understand that sex can be highly painful or highly pleasurable, right? You can understand that there's a possibility for sex to hurt, and there's a possibility for sex to feel incredible, ecstatic, orgasmic, right? It's the same body parts, right? So what's the difference between the two? It's whether you're honoring the body and its processes. And so it's the same thing with birth. Once you start to put those connections together and really look at how do you honor the body and its processes, birth has that same potential for incredible pain and incredible pleasure. Now, that said, you can also train for pleasure. Just like you can train your body to feel more pleasure in the bedroom, you can train your body to feel more pleasure in the birthing room. It's actually the same process. So, intensity of sensation in childbirth can manifest as pain or pleasure. Rather than focusing on reducing pain, my invitation is, let's start focusing on increasing pleasure. The key to this is to study the underlying physiology and interconnected nature of our birthing and sexual body to honor its processes. This is what we do in the Ecstatic Birth Practitioner training. We really understand that connection and start to train our bodies for pleasure. Oh, and y'all are saying, oh yes, I totally get it and love it. I'm so happy that you're all in for that. All right, this is Catherine Stewart-Lindsay. She is a labor and birth doula and lactation counselor and holistic health counselor in New York City. She says, Sheila stands at a threshold, inviting us into our deepest pleasure where bliss lives in us. Who doesn't need more of that? Our work together has taken me into a place of ever-deepening relaxation, of being in and feeling real pleasure. As a woman, I am profoundly grateful for the opportunity to share in this exploration. As a doula, this work goes even deeper for me. I end up talking about pain, or rather people talk to me about their fear of pain practically every day, all day long. To break its pervasive hold, I need to immerse myself in a conversation where pleasure can be a major part of the birth experience, of our life experience. Sheila has a gift in opening that door. All right. Before we move on, okay, I see that the poll results are in. So y'all are 50-50. Understandable. 50% of you say, oh yes, I totally get it and love it. 50% of you say I understand it, but I need to get more comfortable with it. And I think that is a big reflection on our culture, right? It's even if you know that the two are connected, given our cultural messaging, our societal messaging, it can take time to get more comfortable with that idea that birth is a sexual act. Okay. Let's say you get comfortable with it. Here's the thing. Fear and resistance disrupt the flow of labor, increasing intensity of sensation, triggering more fear and resistance, disrupting the process further, increasing intensity, triggering, disrupting, intensifying. You can see the downward spiral that happens, right? So what do we do about that? We lean into pleasure three, pillar three, not pleasure three, pillar three, which is pleasure as the most holistic birthing tool. So while fear triggers in our body this, our stress hormones, our systems of fight or flight, and those systems disrupt the birthing process, pleasure does the exact opposite. Pleasure increases the oxytocin in our body. And as you probably know, oxytocin is the hormone that governs the flow of labor. Oxytocin is the hormone that the pharmaceutical industry is trying to replicate with Pitocin, which they will give a woman if they want to jumpstart her labor or if they want to move the progress of her labor along. But the thing is that Pitocin does a good job at that, but it doesn't give you any of the good stuff. It doesn't give you any of the feel good that pleasure gives you. If you integrate tools of pleasure into birth prep and support, you're going to be tapping into your body's natural ability to produce oxytocin. So you're going to be doing that in the most holistic way possible. This is the design of our body. So there's two different ways that you can integrate pleasure into birth prep. The first is to think about, like, how do I bring pleasure from outside, from around myself, right? So think about, like, what do you want to see? What do you want to hear? What do you want to feel? Thinking of all your senses in that process. Now, you can do that as a birth practitioner for yourself to help nourish and sustain yourself. And I encourage you to do that for your clients. That way you're both receiving that oxytocin yumminess in your own way and really bringing that into the birthing field, which we know is contagious. The other way to really access pleasure is to train for pleasure. Like I was mentioning earlier, is you can train your body to feel more pleasure. And the tools are one and the same as the tools of natural birth. So there's a lot of breathing, a lot of moaning, a lot of movement, a lot of being really present with your body and the sensations in your body. There's a lot of surrender. So these are tools that we are talking to our clients about anyway, but you can do it in a very directed way to augment the pleasure, the pleasurable sensations they're feeling in their body. You can do that ahead of birth to help train their body, build out those neural pathways for pleasure. So for example, you can breathe in ways to expand the flow of pleasure and energy in your body. You can moan in ways to expand the flow of pleasure and energy in your body. And so everybody expects a birthing woman to be moaning. So why not teach her how to moan to really access that energy that will support the flow of labor and delivery, to moan in a way that triggers oxytocin flow in her body. And then, of course, you can bring tools of sensuality into the birthing room. Every woman is going to be different with that, depending on how comfortable they are with their sensual and sexual body. But there are very simple tools of sensual expansion that you can use to support your clients. And guess what? As you're breathing with them, as you're moaning with them, guess what that does to your body? Makes your body feel really good too. So it's a win-win all around. You're bringing more oxytocin into the field, and it feels good to you and it feels good to your client. So pleasure supports the flow of labor and delivery. It feels great and it elevates everyone's experience. The key here is to integrate pleasure tools and training into childbirth preparation and support. We do a ton of this in the Ecstatic Birth Practitioner training. You literally are embodying every tool that you would ever share with your clients, first and foremost, so it expands your experience of pleasure in your body, gives you a really embodied understanding of how the practices work so that you can be more effective in supporting your clients in that. This is Ekaterina Baranova. She is a Russian birth doula and birth educator residing in Guatemala. So she's bringing this work now into the Russian-speaking world for us, which is amazing. So she says, incorporating body practices, body exercises that I learned in Sheila's training into my routine with my clients helped me to see how being in the body is an important component of ecstatic birth preparations. I started to feel a sparkle in my eyes and feeling more joyful by making sessions shorter and giving my clients multiple points of reference for pleasure they could experience here and now and bring into the birthing room. If you're a birth practitioner that is intrigued by the idea of helping women and creating their ecstatic birth experience, I highly recommend you to start your journey by taking this training. It will transform your perspective, your connection to your body, bring you into sisterhood with other practitioners, and give you a lot of pleasure. Just checking in here with the chat. Patty says, I would love your demonstrations of the breathing and moaning. I find it more challenging because some women are pregnant by science, and sometimes they've been impregnated without their willingness. And there are a lot of women who have a history of sexual abuse. Those bridges are very hard to gap. This is such an important point. So when we talk about birth as a sexual act, well, we really have to take a moment and honor that the stats do show us that women that have experienced sexual trauma in their life, sexual abuse, rape, any of those things, do have a hard time birthing vaginally. And so encouraging them to heal that is a big part of, that may or may not be the work that you do, but holding space for that healing ahead of birth will go a long way in the birthing room. As for the breathing and moaning, well, let's see how the rest of the webinar flows. If I can put that in there, I definitely will. So what can we do when the unexpected or unwanted emerge in childbirth? Are joy and ecstasy still possible? Okay, pillar number 4 is this idea of rebirthing with each birth. One of the things that Dr. Christiane Northrup talks about in the training sessions, she talks about how we all as birth practitioners are attracted to the birthing field for a reason. And really, the truth is that anyone in life is attracted to anything for a reason. Our desires lead us to our next evolution, our next place of growth, right? So as birth professionals, there is something in the birthing field for us to grow from. There's something there that our soul, our essence wants to use for our own evolution. That is the very nature of desire. It leads us towards our growth. And, when we think about this idea, when we think about the flow of life, actually mirrors the flow of birth, which mirrors the flow of orgasm. What do I mean by that? I mean there's a perpetual expansion and contraction. In labor, that first phase of labor, you have that flow of expansion and contraction. In orgasm, if you've ever looked at a woman's vulva when it's orgasming or felt into your own, expansion and contraction, right? In life too, if any of you have ever had a moment where, when you were in it, it was just so difficult, but now looking back, you're so grateful for the gifts that it gave you. Well, that is a demonstration of that contraction led to your next expansion. And we give contractions a bad rep, to be honest. Like, we want to numb them, we want to avoid them, we want to change their names to make them more positive. The truth is that contractions are not bad. Contractions are the work that your body needs to do in labor to open, to expand. So bringing this back to you, when you are supporting clients and what is happening there is not what you wanted for your client, is not what your client wanted for themselves, whether it's an unexpected outcome or an unwanted outcome. One way to understand what is happening is through this ebb and flow of expansion and contractions. I can tell you my first birth, which was very traumatic, was a contractive moment in my life's journey. And I am so grateful for that contractive moment now, because had I not had it, I would not be doing the work that I'm doing now. Had I not had it, I would not have put all of my energy and resources into figuring out what the hell was wrong with me so I could heal, so I could then have the birthing experiences that I didn't even know were possible, right? So there's that wisdom for you and for your clients. So some women will have contractive moments in their journey to motherhood, in their fertility challenges. Some women will have contractive moments in their pregnancy. Some women will have contractive moments in birth. Some women will have contractive moments in motherhood. It's all perfect. Even if it feels icky, even if it feels yucky, it's all perfect in that moment. So the way that you can really begin to understand that it's all perfect is to treat your own contractions, allow yourself to receive your own contractions with this perspective. And your body is going to show you where you need to grow. So you're going to start to, as you connect to sensation, your body will show you where you need to grow in order to have that next expansion. Now, what do I mean by that? When you're in your feeling space, when you learn to hold the tone for oxytocin flow in your body, when you learn to feel more and more pleasure in your own body, it's going to start to become very apparent to you when your body is constricted, when you're not feeling flow, when you're feeling gnarly inside, right? When you feel that way, that's an opportunity for you to really look at what's here for me. Like, why am I so triggered by this? And really start to bring some consciousness to that and open yourself up, even if you have no idea how. Say like, okay, I know there's gifts in here. The more you can do that for yourself, the more you can do that for your clients. And the more you can hold space, even in those moments where your clients are going through a contraction in their birthing process, it's not going to phase you as much. You're going to be able to still hold that tone for pleasure, hold that tone for the highest possible outcome for all. So our ability to hold space for our clients' ecstatic births, even when they're faced with unexpected or unwanted outcomes, is directly related to our commitment to our own personal rebirths. The key here is we, as practitioners, have to continue to clear out our fears and triggers as we identify and feel them in our body. And we do take 2 to 3 months to do this in the Ecstatic Birth Practitioner training, to really look at the shadow side of birth and explore protocols to help us in those moments where either when we're supporting a client ahead of birth or during birth, to support us in consciously rebirthing through our clients' birth experiences. Oh, Christina is such an amazing example of this. Christina Sloan's a doula and childbirth educator and lactation counselor in Scottsdale, Arizona. And she had such an incredible healing journey for herself when it came to clearing out a lot of trauma, a lot of fears in her own body. So she says, the Ecstatic Birth Practitioner training is near and dear to my heart, not only because I'm passionate about transformation and childbirth in the US, but because it truly brought me healing and clarity that I will be forever grateful for. What I was not expecting to get out of the practitioner training, coming home to my body, knowing that I'm safe, feeling love and bliss inside myself, experiencing the richness of this human experience. My senses are now experiencing things that they had never experienced before. You may be wondering what this has to do with birth. Well, it's everything. Being present in your body and feeling pleasure is the thing that will allow the labor hormones to flow and will allow you to feel and trust the process. It starts with us. The birthing field is contagious. So even if we do this work of clearing our own fears and blocks, the birthing field itself has so much like fear and pain and management in the forefront. The birthing field is contagious with fear and pain management dominating the field. That energetic tone disrupts the flow of labor. So what do I mean by this? We all know that when a woman's birthing, if someone that's full of like fear steps into the birthing room, that will affect her body. That will affect the flow of her labor. And that is, unfortunately, that is the dominant energetic tone that is in the field right now. So what do we do about that? This is our 5th pillar of ecstatic birth, learning to hold the tone for ecstatic birth. So even though that is the dominant tone in the birthing room, we as birth practitioners, when we enter the birthing room, can bring a different tone. And that, that can be challenging because the cultural norms, the societal, the medical, like all these different factors can really feel very challenging in our face, but we can learn to hold the tone in our own bodies. The key here is to connect to sensation. We did this a little bit in that opening body practice. Learn to feel more pleasure at will through these somatic exercises, through these pleasure exercises to help us open and expand into pleasure in our own body. The more we practice that in neutral moments for ourselves, and then start to bring it into more challenging moments, the more we practice that outside of the birthing room, the better we will become at bringing it into the birthing room, regardless of what's going on, that disconnect from outcome that we started with in the get-go. So if you know how to kind of drop into your body and start to feel that flow of pleasure, oxytocin flow in your own body, you can start to bring it into more challenging situations. Like, we can feel things. If you walk into a room after a fight, you can feel that in your body. Now, what if you could bring that tone for pleasure flow into whatever space you're working? That's what the 5th pillar is all about, and learning to hold the tone for ecstatic birth. We can learn to hold the tone for pleasure in our bodies and bring that energy into the birthing room and elevate the birthing field. The key here is your relationship to your body and your sensual expansion. So like I said, I have done a ton of sensual expansion work in my own life and my own training, and that is really a big portion of this ecstatic birth practitioner training. This training is 12 months instead of 12 weeks because sensual expansion is a process that takes time. And so I really want each of you that, decide to take this training to be able to take that journey and integrate it into your body, into your life. This is Jenny Braxton. She's a birth visionary, community leader, and educator in Oregon, in the US. She says, this training has given me so much inspiration, so much expansion, release. I learned what it means to truly love myself, to reclaim my pleasure, to focus on living from a state of turn on. The knowledge I've received and embodiment I've learned has not only helped transform my life, but will also help the countless birthing women and mamas to whom I'll pass this on. So moving forward, how do you integrate these 5 pillars into your life? First and foremost, I want you to honor your births, whether they're real or metaphorical, with pleasure. Use pleasure consciously as a tool to support you through those contractive moments, right? The contractive moments will bring you out of flow. Pleasure will bring you back into flow. And usually it's the last place you want to go when you're in a gnarly contractive space. But that is really, that's where your power is to start to consciously integrate pleasure into your life, into the birthing room, into your client support, so that you can move through those contractive spaces, bringing yourself back to flow. I want you to learn to feel and support your clients in connecting with the wisdom and pleasure within. That's that sensual expansion journey I keep talking about. And it really is very simple. Like, here is how simple it is. If you wanted to start this on your own without taking my training, I invite you every day, just close your eyes, give yourself a few moments, feel what's going on inside, notice what sensations are alive for you, and then open your eyes and journal exactly what you felt. This is the first step. Most of us treat our bodies as a means to move our head from place to place. Most of us are living in a very disconnected space from our bodies. I want you to start to move into your body, because birth is a body trip. Our clients need to get into their bodies, learn to feel, follow the sensations of their body towards what feels good. Our body wants to feel good. That is our wisdom. That is our female wisdom. That is our primal wisdom, to be in your body and follow to what feels good. So my invitation to you, as no surprise, is to join me for the Ecstatic Birth Practitioner training. I am going to put up the link here in case you wanted to take a look at it. How do I do that? Offers, here we go. If you want to look at that training, if you want to sign up for that training, I have put up the link for that here in our webinar. I'm hosting a 24-hour webinar special. I'll go more into that shortly, but you're going to basically have an opportunity to save nearly 20% on this training. The training does not start until June, so this is like a super duper early bird registration special. Because you would be registering so early, I want to honor you for sitting through this training and really starting to integrate some of these ideas into your client work. So if you do want to sign up, use code 5pillars right there on the sales page, and you'll get, depending on whether you decide to pay in full or the payment plan, you'll get nearly 20% off and up to $400 off your registration. Okay, what do I want to say about that? I want to say that the first 5 people, no, whoever, I see that, whoever decides to join this program while on this webinar will also get a 1-hour complimentary consultation with me, where we can really talk about your body, your birth work, and how to integrate pleasure into that. So if you're feeling like, yes, I'm all in, I want to do this, I have no doubts, go ahead and register, and I will gift you as a bonus a 1-hour one-on-one session with me, where we can really focus on how to expand your pleasure in your personal and in your professional life. Those of you that aren't sure, want to hear a little bit more, stick with me. I'm going to share some more. I want to give you an inside look into this training, and I'm going to do that by sharing my screen with you so you can take a look at what's going on in there. Okay, now you're seeing what I want you to see. So this is the page for the Ecstatic Birth Practitioner training. Patty, you're asking about a payment plan and what is the time commitment to participate. So yeah, I do have a payment plan. You can pay a monthly fee. I'll show you that shortly, or you can pay in full. The time commitment is about 2 to 3 hours a week. I've spread it out so that it's accessible and doable, because I don't want this program to be something that overtakes your life. I want this program to be something that's integrated into your life. I want all of the practices to be happening while you're living your life. That's the point of the program. So let me share. I want to, okay, this is for you. If you are passionate about empowering women to have great births, if you're a leader and a way shower, bold enough to challenge the status quo, if you're eager to dive into the uncharted waters of pleasure and birth, if you're committed to deepening your connection to your body and your sexuality so you can empower your clients to do the same, if you're excited to integrate ecstatic birth preparation and support into your offerings, and if you're hungry to connect with other like-minded, progressive childbirth professionals, that's who this training is for. Now, there are 2 tracks to this training. The standard track is $167 a month for 12 months, or you can pay up front and save $105. I do have an advanced leadership track, this $467 a month. Now that includes the entire training plus one-on-one sessions with me each month to really support you where you're at and building this into your work, into your business, into your personal life. So that's what the advanced leadership track is for. That's really only for 10 women that are so committed, that want to, take this to the next level and have my support, have my one-on-one support. What you get, so I want to walk you through the curriculum. We have 10 modules. First module is the practitioner's role in ecstatic birth. We talk about what is our role in bringing ecstatic birth to our clients. Foundations for ecstasy. We start to lay the groundwork for creating that for ourselves, the experience of ecstasy for ourselves and for our clients. Embodied empowerment. This is all in our bodies. It's all about getting into our bodies. It's all about that feeling space in our bodies. So that's what module 3 is dedicated to, is starting to bring this work into our bodies. Then we move into pleasure work. Module 4, integrating pleasure. That's that bringing pleasure from outside our bodies. We go through tools of pleasure, singing, moaning, breathing, visualizations. Like, what are the pleasure tools? Touch, eye gazing. We really talk about like the different tools of pleasure that we can give ourselves from the outside. And then module 5 is opening to pleasure. That's that sensual expansion journey. And so I know, Patty, you would ask for some like breathing or moaning. What I would say to you is, like, you practice breathing or moaning, like you start here in your mouth and you bring it all the way down to your womb, to your vulva, to your clitoris, moving that breath down, moving that sound down. That expands the energy for pleasure. So that's one of the ways that we open for pleasure. In module 5, there are a lot of tools that are shared there. Module 6 is body integration. We have an entire month where we're doing body practices every day. Every day. The body practices are so short. They're 5 minutes-ish, give or take. And the reason for that is, again, like, we want this to be a practice, an accessible practice that you can bring with you wherever you are, that you could do in the birthing room, you could do in the bedroom, you could do as you're standing on the supermarket checkout line. So module 6 is every day we do a different body practice. And by the end of this training, you have so many practices to choose from for your clients, to support your clients. And then we also dive into the shadow side of birth, disarming fears. How do we disarm fears ahead of birth? How do we disarm our own fears in relation to our clients? And how do we dance with the unexpected? Because it is inevitable that the unexpected will arise. Module 9 and 10 is all about bringing this work out into the world. How do you integrate it into your client work? And then how do you use it to transform the culture of birth globally, where you work, in your community, in your environment? Let's see. You get videos, transcripts, worksheets, body practices. I'm going to show you our private membership site in just a moment. And what to expect: radical transformation in relationship to your relationship to your body and your feminine power. And there's more. Okay, so these are the women that you're going to have access to their wisdom in the ecstatic birth training session. These are my teachers. These are my colleagues. These are my friends. These are leaders and visionaries in the world of birth, in the world of pleasure, in the world of female empowerment. And you're going to have access to their wisdom through this training as well. Let's see if there's anything else here. Okay, so let's recap. So you get that 9-month womb. So 9 months of this training is really dedicated to your embodiment and your personal journey, so that then you can bring it out into the world. That's that 4th trimester support. So everything that you would want to do with your clients, first you do with yourself, so that you can really embody it all, understand it, and be more effective in bringing it out to your clients. Everything is online. You can access that on demand. The way it works is you get an email every Sunday night, and it tells you what your homework is for the week. And as I mentioned before, the commitment is it's usually about 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours max per week. So I encourage my students to schedule that out so that they get their work done. And every month we meet live together, practitioners from all over the world. That's a time for some body practices that we do together, Q&A. We have some discussion as well on the different modules. And I have this private membership site that I'm going to show you, and this growing global community of progressive birth professionals. It really is a global movement, and it's really fun because, like I said earlier, we have some women that are just starting out in birth work. We have women that are very experienced in birth work and in between. And the thing is that the playing field here is relatively level because this information is new. There's no other training like this available. So even women that are very seasoned in birth work, there's a lot here for them to digest, but you can lean on each other's expertise. You can learn from each other. I really encourage that. You do get home play body immersion I mentioned, and the ecstatic birth training sessions I mentioned. So last thing I want to say here, all graduates do receive a certificate of completion, including badges for your website and other marketing materials, which denotes you as an ecstatic birth practitioner. You get complimentary spots at any future trainings I offer. So this is actually, it's not like you do it once, you're done. You're invited into this training as often as you want. Why? Because you can always go deeper. There's always more pleasure to have. There's always more embodiment to have. The women are different, so you have a different experience each time. So that's really the gift that keeps on giving. And the other thing that I didn't mention that I want to mention is I do stand by my work. So I do offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. If within the first 30 days of starting the course, you realize this just is not for me, and you can show me that you've participated and done the coursework and it's just not like resonating with you, I will give you your money back. So I do want you to know that I do stand by that. You get an invitation to become a JV level affiliate for all of my programs. So we talk about like, how can you bring this work out into the world and make money doing it? And you can use some of the things I've created to do it. So I make it really easy for you. You get continued access to all the materials. Like I said, you come into the course. Oh, I have an online directory of practitioners. So a lot of times when expectant moms are looking for local resources, I will direct them to that online directory, so you will be listed in that. And you'll also have access to promotional opportunities for your work via my marketing channels. I love interviewing my students. I love featuring your blog posts. So that's available to you also. All right, next I want to show you the online space. I want to get that funky, figure out how to do that. All right, so what you're looking at now is a private membership space, and it will look slightly different for the upcoming year because I'm currently upgrading and changing everything, but I just want to give you a sense. So these are, like, we have one tab. These are where the live trainings are. Every time we do a live training, the video is available there for people to watch after. We have conversations after that. The modules, we have the 10 modules. Also, they go live one a month. So each module has some videos that you'll watch. It has a body practice, a home play checklist, worksheets for you to journal. The foundation series and the body series, those are that's the ecstatic birth training sessions that I mentioned with all these incredible teachers. We do that as well. We also have a Facebook group. For those of you that are on Facebook and like to connect in that way. These are past trainings that, if you have past trainings, you have access to that as well. So these wouldn't always be here. And then there's a members area with all of our students so that you all can connect to each other. All right. So I want to continue with our presentation. Patty says, my life plate is beyond heaping right now. I'm very interested in participating, but honestly don't see how I could start before 2020. Will you offer the same pricing and payment schedule? Honestly, Patty, I don't know. And the reason I don't know is because every year I upgrade the training significantly. And so it depends on how the training changes. I do plan to offer it again. As far as pricing and payment schedule, I can't say that it'll be exactly the same. It depends on how much the program changes year to year. Okay, so I want to give you that sixth pillar that I told you about. Let's go back to our presentation here. This is the leading edge of birth work. There are so many factors working against us, from the medical to the personal to the societal to the cultural. The gap can feel very overwhelming. It can feel very hard to hold the vision for what we're trying to create and still feel how hard that gap is. It can feel like, oh, I just like climbing up the biggest mountain, right? So I want to share this quote with you from Samara Conception. She's a birth doula and somatic movement specialist in London, England. She says, I am no longer seeing women as victims in the labor wards. That is huge for me. I am understanding that all I need to do is embody the alternative I believe in, and that can only be pleasurable. This training is also encouraging me to pleasure the other aspects of myself, not just the doula, but the creator and the mover, which I am so thankful for. I really wanted you to hear this because I am no longer seeing women as victims in the labor wards. That is huge. It's not just huge for her, it's huge for all of us, right? And how can we collectively hold that vision for what it is we're trying to create in birth, see the gap is so wide, and continue on with passion, with purpose, right? So the sixth pillar of ecstatic birth is sisterhood and community. With access to this growing global community of pleasure-based birth practitioners, you can lean on each other in transition moments. What's a transition moment? We know that in birth, Ina May Gaskin, she talks about this in the training. I'm proud that she's a part of it as well. She talks about how so much of what a birthing woman needs is someone who is loving and kind and unafraid. Why? Because when you're in that moment of feeling like, I just can't do this anymore, the thing that is most helpful is to have someone to lean over and say, you've got this. I know you can do this. I believe in you. So that's what we can do with each other when we are in sisterhood and community. And that is something that we cannot do alone. It is so easy to lose sight of the vision when the gap is still so wide, right? And also when we have sisterhood and community, we can magnify our efforts for elevating childbirth. It's exponential. It's not 1 + 1 = 2, it's 1 + 1 = 5, because we can support each other. There's so much wisdom that is shared between women within the community, so many women that come forward with different skills. Like just this year, we had someone who was a yoni mapping specialist. We had someone who did cleared out like birth trauma from the body with Reiki. And these women were offering each other sessions and they were learning from each other. So it really magnifies our efforts when we can pool our collective skill set and really support each other and our clients in this way. Together, we can transform the landscape of birth from pain to pleasure. So that is my invitation to you, is to come together and really transform that landscape. And finally, I have this testimonial from Dr. Peta Elmer. She is a doctor of traditional Chinese medicine labor doula in Victoria, Australia. And she has done this training since the very first year, every year. She says, it's been a very natural progression to infuse all that I've learned through my ecstatic birth practitioner training into my work with clients, and not just my pregnant clients, but all my women clients. This is because at the very core of ecstatic birth is the vibration of love, joy, pleasure, and expansion, connection, and alignment. Through Sheila's ecstatic birth practitioner training, I've developed skills to guide awareness of their body and intelligence. This training has equipped me with a language that speaks to a woman's heart, because despite a culture of misinformation, disempowerment, and fear around birth, deep inside every woman is the knowing that birth is her superpower. I believe women are so ready to receive and awaken the confirmation of what they already know deep inside. Ecstatic birth is the way of the woman. Powerful. Just want to share some stats. I surveyed our graduates recently. 94% of them felt that they broadened their skill set to include supporting women with pleasure through this training. 97% said they would recommend this course to their colleagues. 100% said the course exceeded their expectations, and 100% said they received nourishment and pleasure for themselves from this course. Deborah Samadi Woods, a birth and postpartum doula and childbirth educator in Vancouver, California. This woman came in with so much pain in her body. I'm so proud to share her testimonial because her transformation, she came in with a lot of debilitating pain. She was having a very hard time supporting her clients because of that pain and exhaustion. She says, I have gotten so much clarity, understanding that I am responsible to nourish my soul and listen to her, to listen to my body and honor that, as opposed to doing what I think I should. We all should on ourselves. What I think I should do based on outer expectations or a belief in something that doesn't resonate with my deepest truth. I am speaking up more about what's possible for birth and what my truth is. So ladies, we are nearing the end of our presentation. I want to encourage you, if this resonates, I'd really love to have you join today. You will save, you've got 24 hours to use this code 5 pillars. You'll save nearly 20% off, up to $400. I believe the monthly payments will come to $137 a month. And I don't remember what the pay in full amount is, but I think it's about $400 off if you want to pay in full, and use that code 5 pillars when you check out to get that savings. If you have registered during this training, if you are going to register during this training, I'll give you like a 10-minute, bonus window after this training. I will also gift you with a 1-hour complimentary one-on-one session with me to support you in expanding in pleasure, get you started on your journey in expanding in pleasure in your own body, as well as in your work and your practice, and for your clients. Wherever your desire lies, I will support you in that. And that is that. I'm just going to check in and see if there are any notes from you all. Anything that I need to address that I haven't. All right, well, it could be fun to just end by moaning for pleasure per Patty's request. I invite you all. You can close your eyes if you want. We're going to do some sounding. Now, I encourage my women to play with different sounds, but we're going to do my favorite sound, which is ah, because that ah sound goes deep into our womb, goes deep into our vulvas. You can inhale. You go ah. You can do that 5 times together. Join me if you're inspired. The idea is that you're going to start sounding up here in your throat. You can even tilt your head back, and then you can bring that sound down through your body and try to direct it right through your torso, into your womb, into your vulva, into your clitoris, and start to notice the sensations in your body, right? So we're going to do that 3 or 4 times together. Ready? Last one. Keeping your attention inward, eyes closed for a moment. Just notice what that sounding did for your body. Notice what it evoked. Notice what sensations are alive. Notice how your uterus feels. Notice how your vulva feels. Notice how your clitoris feels. Notice how the entire area feels right now. And slowly, as you're ready, you can open your eyes. So that practice can actually lead a woman to orgasm, can actually lead to engorgement of the tissues, which supports our opening without tearing. Orgasm can lead to massive rushes of oxytocin in the body. So I encourage you to play with that, do the opening meditation. I hope you join me for this training, and regardless of how you decide to proceed, I am so honored that I had you here today. I'm so honored that you joined me, that you stayed till the very end, that you really took the time to open to these ideas and think about how you can bring this into your work, into your client support, and out into the world. Lots of love. Goodbye for now, and I hope to see you in the program. Lots of love.